the Pentacon 50mm f1.8, a really wonderful lens with a lot of really interesting artistic properties. You can get this lens for very little money. Let's talk about this. Hey, thanks for joining me. Today I'd like to talk about this Pentacon 50mm f1.8 lens. Now, this is an East German lens. These were made back in the 70s and 80s. They made just millions of these things. I say that, I don't know exactly how many, but they're very common. You can find these online on online auctions and stuff for typically around $20, $25. And one of the really unique things about this lens are the optical properties that it has. Now, it's not the sharpest lens. If you're looking for something super sharp, this is not your choice. It does, just like I say, it has some really unique optical properties. The images have kind of an ethereal look. The out of focus backgrounds are just really beautiful. And the unique thing about this lens is the close focusing distance. It will focus down to just a little less than a foot. So it gets really close. And like I say, it has become something, or to be known as something as kind of an art lens rather than like a super sharp 50mm lens. You know, back in my film camera days, if someone said, "Hey, do you want this lens?" I'd have been like, "Oh, heck no, that's junk. I don't want that." But on my digital camera today, I've had a lot of fun with it, and probably should have looked at it back in film days. I mean, I've had this lens back since I had film cameras, but it was in my cabinet, never used it. This lens is multi-coated. There are different versions of this lens. Some are, don't say multi-coating, some do. I think optically they're all very similar. This one, like I say, is just one I had on an old camera that was in a bunch of other junk cameras that I had. So, like I said, this thing focuses very close. If you put an extension tube on it, you can get very close with it, obviously. I don't typically do that. I love using this thing for flower photography, shooting pictures of flowers. You can just get some really dreamy looking pictures. Now, I'm not a portrait photographer per se, but I think this thing would probably, on a micro four thirds camera where this becomes an equivalent to a 100mm lens, this would probably make a really interesting portrait lens. Again, because it's not super sharp. You can blow your backgrounds by opening it wide open. You can make your backgrounds very soft. You could isolate your subject that way, and it's going to probably produce some really nice soft skin tones that would probably be really nice. I'm going to have to give this a try with some portraits. But like I say, it's a very inexpensive lens and just got some really unique properties. Now, let's take a look at some pictures and then we'll come back and talk about it some more. So using this lens on my micro four thirds digital cameras is really easy, and this really applies to really any mirrorless camera. Once you get the lens, you've got to get an adapter. I typically use these adapters that I get on online auctions. This company, Photocy, I've been buying their adapters, and I've had really good success with them. They're very inexpensive. I think $10 or $12 is what I've paid for most of these. This simply has a threaded ring on the front, and the lens, of course, is threaded. This is called an M42 mount. So when you buy the adapter, you're looking for, this one actually is labeled M42-M4 thirds. So if you're using a different mirrorless camera, you need to get, of course, the right adapter. But it's an M42 mount on this lens. That's the what some people would call the Pentax screw mount. So really simply, this just screws onto the lens, and you're pretty much ready to go. Now, these adapters do have some set screws in the sides of them here, and some of these, I don't remember if this one did or not, but some of these come with an Allen wrench where you can loosen these. And the reason for that is there's some variation in different brands of lenses as to how they screw on. So by loosening those, you can rotate the lens so that the the focus scale, aperture, marks and everything are at the very top when it's mounted on your camera. If they're a little off rotationally, those screws allow you to correct that. And then this mounts on your camera just really like any other lens. I'm going to put this on my EM5 Mark II. Like I say, it goes on just like a regular lens. There's a red dot that you line up with the red dot on the camera, and it just mounts. That simple. Now, these lenses typically have an auto or manual switch, and you'll see this right here. This either has an M or an A, and you want this on manual. That way, as you turn the lens, the aperture will stop down and open up. Now, with the live view on a digital camera, you're able to see what the results are going to be. I put my cameras on aperture priority, and then typically on this lens, instead of shooting at f1.8, I'll stop it down. It's really not even a half stop, but stop it down to f2, and that cleans the image up just a tiny bit. It doesn't really do that much for depth of field. You still get really nice, soft backgrounds. Every now and then, if I'm shooting, especially when doing flowers and such, if I'm shooting a flower that I need a little bit more depth of field on, I might stop it down to f4. But you have to keep in mind that as you stop it down, the backgrounds get, have more detail. They're sharper. So if you're looking for those really soft, creamy backgrounds, you've got to shoot it close to wide open. But that's pretty much it. I will, like I say, choose my aperture, let the camera choose the shutter speed, and I can see in the viewfinder or on the screen, I can see what the exposure is going to look like. If I get out of range and have to adjust my not film speed, ISO setting in the camera to make sure I'm in a shutter speed range that I like. Sometimes I'll just put the camera on auto ISO and let it do its thing. So pretty easy to mount on your camera. The mounts, like I say, are also inexpensive, and it makes for a really neat setup. Now, like I say, this focus is very close, and so it's great for things like flowers, anything where you're wanting a close-up of something with soft backgrounds. And like I say, I'm really going to have to take this out and try it with some portraits. I think this would probably do a really nice job. It would give you some really soft skin tones and allow you to throw your backgrounds out of focus to isolate your subject. I think it would really work great for portraits. So I'm going to have to give that a try. Let's look at some more pictures. Well, there you go. If you're looking for a really unique artistic lens that you can buy for very little money, might be one to take a look at. Like I say, the lenses are very inexpensive. The adapters are very, inexpensive also, and it's a lot of fun to use. This will create some very unique images, kind of an extra really unique item you can have in your lens collection to give you some really unique results. So I appreciate you watching my videos. Always glad when you tune in. If you would, please click the like and subscribe buttons and the notification bell so you know when my next video comes out. And as always, thanks for watching. Hey, I just hopped back in my car and was fixing to head home and thought, you know, I should look online and see what those lenses are selling for. It's been a little while since I shopped for one, you know, a few months, and I've noticed when I looked that the prices have gone up a bit. So I did find a couple that were in the $20 to $25 range, but I found several more that were in the $35 to $50 range. So I think there's some good deals to be had still, even at $35 to $50, very affordable lens. So if you're looking for one, just be aware that they may be a little bit more than I had originally thought.